All right, everyone, welcome back to what I am dubbing the Save Point Daily Download. I think that's the name that keeps coming back to me. But what I wanted to do, and the reason I'm doing this, is because I wanted to have a more consistent release schedule. And so this one is going to be, or what I'm envisioning for this particular series is a shorter version of a podcast, maybe 5 to 10 minutes, just so I can, speak to you guys on a more regular basis. So the plan is to record again this every single day, get it up, get it out, and then, a couple times a week, maybe 3 times a week, I'm envisioning where I'm actually going to do a longer form podcast, the actual Save Point Vids podcast, where I would have additional, co-hosts and things like that. But yeah, that's the plan. And then kind of in between, we'll do like Let's Plays and things like that. But, just to, again, get, something out on a regular basis, I think is really important. This industry is moving so fast all the time that I think that, at least for me right now, doing a full-length podcast every single day is just not feasible. So to break it down into smaller bite-sized chunks, I think is going to be more beneficial for me and for you guys. But anyway, now that I got that out of the way, if you do find this entertaining and informative, I do ask that you, subscribe, like, share it with, somebody. Definitely, please. Again, as I've said before many, many times, this is a passion project, and, I can't do this without your support. So I'm definitely appreciative of all of, the love and support that you guys have given me so far. If I'm talking kind of quieter right now, it's because it's getting late. It's actually after 11 p.m. Eastern time. The family is upstairs asleep. We're there, and I don't want to talk too loud. But I was thinking about it. I was kind of editing some videos and stuff, and I was thinking about E3, and not E3 in the sense of the games that we saw, but E3 itself and kind of gaming conventions at large, and kind of what it means for the industry, and kind of the conclusion that I came to is not totally unique to myself, but I really believe that within the next 5 to 7 years, gaming conventions like that are just not going to exist anymore. They're just not as relevant. And again, I didn't go to E3, but everything that I've again heard and listened to said that the show floor was very empty. Sony was missing, EA was missing, Activision was missing. And so, these big traditional publishers and companies that we kind of expect to be there just weren't. And I think that says, again, a lot about the state of the industry. And that's not to say that they won't come back next year. But I think that, its relevancy is, again, it's waning. You kind of think back to what Nintendo did several years ago, and they kind of did, they started the Nintendo Direct, but they brought in this, idea of speaking directly to the customer and to the consumer, and kind of taking out the middleman by not having to go to a show floor. And they did a pre-recorded video and put it out online, where, again, the barrier to entry is so low that, you literally click on a link and you're there. And, Sony has followed suit, with the State of Play, and Xbox has done the same, and Google Stadia, how they announced it. They are speaking directly to consumers on a more regular basis. And I think that, means that eventually, there's no reason why we can't see a Ubisoft or an Activision State of Play. And, there's no need for, these big gaming conventions that cost a ton of money and, a ton of time and resources, that, when they can do a pre-recorded video and put it up on, some random day in September and talk about, their end of the year plans, and, they don't have to compete with all the other companies and all the other games that are trying to do the same thing. They own that specific day. They're not, competing for time and mind share from the consumer. And that just doesn't go for E3. I think that goes for Gamescom, Tokyo Game Show, the big traditional gaming conventions that we normally think of, I think are going by the wayside. And that's not to say that, PAX is going anywhere. I don't think that's going anywhere. That's a different type of show in the sense that, those don't have nearly as long of a history as something, again, like an E3. And I don't think its overall impact is as large as an E3 is right now, in the sense that, Microsoft would never announce the next Xbox at a PAX event. Sony wouldn't announce the PS5 at a PAX event. I think that if they did want to do a live presentation, they would do it, on a day, again, that they own, like they announced the PS4. Xbox has brought back their XO initiative. I think the most recent one was just announced for later this year in London. And so they'll still do those, but I don't think it's going to be at a convention where, again, they're competing with the mind share of others, for that time and attention. I don't see it, lasting more than a couple more years. And who knows, I could be completely wrong, but just kind of the way that the industry is turning, EA pulled out this year. Again, it's still in LA, but it wasn't technically part of E3. Sony pulled out this year. Maybe they just didn't have anything to talk about. And, next year when the PS5 hype train is in full swing, maybe they will come back for an E3. But I don't think they necessarily have to. I think the way they announced the PS4 was awesome. They did that in February of 2013, and they completely owned that time frame, and they didn't have to. Again, I know I keep saying that, but I think that's what it comes down to, is speaking directly to the consumer and kind of cutting through the noise and the static of everybody else. I think is super important. And that's just kind of the trend of, how the industry is going. And I don't see that slowing down. If anything, I think that, over the next several years, that momentum for that type of, consumer to product or consumer to company relationship is going to accelerate and get faster and faster. And at one point or another, whether it's 5 years or 7 years or 10 years from now, we are going to reach a tipping point where, again, it's antiquated the way that we've been doing things up to this point, or up to that point. So who knows? Like I said, it was just something that I was thinking about. I was reading an article, and it was saying that how, even though this E3 was great in the sense that we saw a lot of great games, we saw Avengers and Final Fantasy VII Remake and Cyberpunk 2077 and, among other games as well. But the actual convention floor itself, the hype and the energy that E3 is typically known for, just wasn't present. It was a lot more subdued, and that is because of the lack of those publishers that I had mentioned earlier. But anyway, so that's kind of just what I was thinking. Let me know if you think I'm way off base, and there's a very good chance that I might be. But then again, I don't think it's really, when I sit down to think about it, I don't think that it is really that far, of a stretch to imagine that, E3 by, it's 2019 now, E3 by 2024, 2025 is just gone. We're well into the, PS5 generation, maybe even thinking about PS6 at that point. And, is E3 where, these companies, again, spend so much money and so many resources and so much time to have to compete with the mind share of everybody else. Who knows? But anyway, that's all I've got, guys. Let me know if I'm completely off base or if you agree with me or don't agree with me. As I always say, I'd love to open up a dialogue and talk to you guys about it. So leave a comment below. Tweet at me at SavePointJosh or at SavePointVids. Be happy to answer on either one of those. And if you haven't yet, please give me a follow on those platforms, Twitter and Instagram. Again, hit the subscribe button if you would. And, share it with a friend. I definitely would appreciate it. And until next time, you guys stay safe.